Hello audio electronics people, and welcome to a relatively battle-weary lab. Sorry about the mess, I've got a number of projects on the go right now that are pretty high stakes. So anyways, one of those from this week was this audio synthesizer. The idea here was simply to produce a musically useful device. Didn't have to look pretty or be mechanically stable or anything like that. So I'm going to show you some of the sounds that come out of this thing and explain some of the lessons I learned building audio synthesizers. So it's set to sort of beeping tone sort of thing. I can get kind of a dolphin sound out of it. And I can crank it right up and get this sort of clav bass type sound. So a few features to note are there's a filter over here, a resonant filter. It affects just the triangle wave voice. There's a square and triangle wave voice toggleable on this switch over here. So I can select between those two. On the square wave voice, this little knob affects the duty cycle of the square wave. So you can kind of pick between having all your harmonics or just the odd ones, which is kind of a neat little sound to blend between. So that's pretty cool. Cool feature to include anytime you're building a square wave oscillator or digital synthesizer maybe, you know. So anyways, one lesson I learned there is that as you change the duty cycle down to 0, your waveform becomes much quieter. Any conceivable system responds less to it. It appears less loud. So it's a double pot and it actually cranks the volume up. So it's kind of neat that that pot is taking this limit of shifting between a square wave and a delta function. So it's a pretty cool little device. Overall, this synth could be pretty useful for laboratory work, you know, subjecting circuits to tones and stuff like that. It's adjustable from a few clicks per minute all the way up to ultrasonic frequencies. So it's not just the audio range, but that's where you keep it for the sake of musical usefulness. Another feature here is that the tuning of each key is done by carbon traces drawn onto little PCB traces. So with a mechanical pencil, you can deposit carbon to increase the tone of the oscillator, or erase carbon off to decrease the tone of the oscillator. So that's hugely useful for tuning. You know, you can sit here with a guitar, set up whatever scale you want on these 10 oscillators, and then jam it out. So that's pretty much it for the features. There's a stereo jack output. You can listen to this on headphones. There's a piezo on board, switchable on a push button switch. And there's a little pitch bend control that's opto. It's a little opto resistor, one of the CDS cells. Not sure if you can see it, but it's sticking out there on the middle of the board. And yeah, another lesson I learned building this thing is I wanted to have a resonant filter that I could move around the band because I thought, you know, it's a pretty iconic synthesizer sound. I opted to select a Sallen key topology, which was the wrong choice. Obviously, a biquad or a multi-feedback filter topology would be more optimal for this kind of job. The Sallen key can't be pushed to Q beyond 3, and it has some other limitations that make it pretty unstable if you're trying to crank this filter up into the high frequencies, especially if you're not using super op amps or anything like that. So yeah, that's all there is to this, really. I'm going to show you that I actually can record some useful sounds on this. So I recorded it on this Ditto. It's coming through this little Marshall amp. So anyways, you get the idea. Semi-musically useful. I think it meets what I set out to achieve, so I'm pretty happy with it. By the way, funny story about this Marshall amp. It was actually given to me by a friend of mine. He said, if you can make it work, it's yours. So that's another project I resolved in the same time during the build of the synthesizer. So it's nice that that all came together at the same time. Alright, well, that's all there is. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out some of my other videos. Take it easy.